Right now in Twin Falls, you're either in a 24-hour sprint or a 60-day waiting game, and there isn't really anything in the between.
Don't forget where you came from, don't forget why you made up the ones who were there when no one else.
This is the Living in Twin Falls channel where I help you figure out how to win in this market. I suppose we could start off by saying happy Monday, maybe for most of you, maybe not for everybody, but definitely happy first week of May. I can't believe that we're actually 5 months into the year already. It's absolutely flying by. So while I've been out for the past week taking care of business, I've been able to talk to quite a few of people. And what I'm finding is the same answer. What's the market? What's happening in the market? What can you tell me what's going on in the market? Can I go buy a house? Where are interest rates? Well, I'm just going to narrow it down to just the market at this point. But one thing I can tell is a lot of people are missing what's actually under the hood. So we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive into this. That way you can get an idea of exactly what's going on. We're seeing a valley that's moving in two different speeds. In one spot, the ink isn't even dry on the listing agreement before the house is sold. In another section of the market, we're seeing homes that are sitting on the market longer because of price entry. I've pulled the data, crunched the numbers for Twin Falls, Jerome, Kimberly, Filer, and Buhl. So let's jump in and take a look exactly what's going on. First up, I have a chart here that I want you to look at. So if you look at this chart, if you look at Twin Falls right here on the chart, we had 78 homes go into contract, but only 41 new ones hit the market. That means for every 2 homes we've sold, only 1 is being replaced. And this is a common trend that's been going on for the past few weeks. That's a shrinking inventory. Now slide your eyes over to Filer. Look at this one. 1 new listing versus 4 gone. That's a 4-to-1 ratio. For every 4 families finding a home, we are only putting 1 back in inventory. But look down here at Jerome and Buhl. These are the only balanced markets on the board, sitting near a 1-to-1-to-1 ratio. That means for every 1 house they sell, they're replacing it with another house. This is a bit of a replacement gap issue in the market for us. We have a massive imbalance in our anchor cities, which Twin Falls is our main anchor, but Kimberly is starting to become a bit of an anchor because of the price point in there. The shelf is getting emptier every week, and we're not replacing new homes. In Filer, we're having the same problem. Essentially, we've exhausted the real estate market. Meanwhile, in Jerome and Buhl are acting the valley's pressure valve. They're the only ones that are bringing in for one home they sell, 1 home they bring in, and keeping it a balanced inventory. So how does this affect? Well, if you're a buyer and you are looking in Filer or Twin Falls, you're not shopping anymore at this point. You're competing. So if you sleep on it, you won't be sleeping in it. But if you feel the burn of a 4-to-1 buying option in Filer or Twin Falls, the only other option you have is to move where you're looking on the map and head to Jerome or Buhl. Because as I said, they're both the only balanced market for inventory we have in the valley right now. If you're in Twin Falls or Kimberly, you're the only game in town. You have a massive 2-to-1 advantage. You have that leverage. But if you go to Buhl and Jerome, that's your competition because it's keeping pace with what you're doing. You can't just list it and leave it. You're going to have to be the best looking house on the block and priced to what the market is willing to pay for because you're in a 1-to-1 fight in Buhl and Jerome. So the real decision is what you're looking for. If you want selection and leverage, Jerome and Buhl is your place. If you're looking for that sold out lifestyle, then Filer's your place. But my suggestion is you better be wearing your running shoes because you're going to need it with the lack of inventory in Filer. So trying to find what you have means other people might be looking as well, and you might be competing with more people in Filer. So I'm going to give you a quick look at one more chart. I don't want to do a whole bunch of charts for you because those get boring, and the last thing we need to do is have you get bored. But we're going to look at what I call price clusters or pricing wall of where things are hot and where things are not so hot. So when we look at this chart, we have a clear speed zone for anything under that $300,000 mark. In Twin Falls, Jerome, and Buhl, those homes are vanishing in 0 to 1 days. It's a blink and you miss it opportunity. But look what happens when you cross the $400,000 mark, especially in Kimberly and in Twin Falls. The market hits a wall. The average time on the market in Twin Falls is now 57 days. So demand is heavily clustered at the bottom. In Filer, the medium average moved from a high 300,000 medium price to now at 225,000 medium home price, which is why it sold out in 4 days. Twin Falls has the most houses, but because they're at that 400 threshold and above, they're sitting longer. People are looking for affordability in certain aspects, and that $400,000 threshold is one they're just not willing to cross over at this time. So for the past 2 weeks, that sub $300,000 mark has been a race, and it's a race to see who can get the sign out of the yard the fastest. Some of these houses that got sold were priced correctly, even in that sub 300 level. So much so that it only took a matter of hours, not days, for people to make a decision to make a move. If you have a little bit more of a budget to go with, Twin Falls and Kimberly is your play. If you're trying to find some affordability, Buhl and Jerome, because of the amount of homes that they have on the market there and the balance there, is your opportunity to find a house. If you're a seller coming in looking at listing your house and it's in that sub 300 market here in Twin Falls or over in Filer, you're likely going to be in a sprint, but the mid to high range homes in Twin Falls saw 40 price changes just last week. That tells us the market is rejecting the old pricing, and the buyers are adjusting and moving to the outskirts where affordability is for them. So really, it's a tale of two markets. If you're a buyer and you're wanting that entry level sub 300,000, you're going to be in a bit of a speed zone and have to be ready to go. If you're somebody coming in looking to list their house, you have to really look and see where your price is at. Listen to your agent, see where it's at, and understand that the timelines start to increase for the amount of time on the market. So on the last bit that I have here for you, I'm not going to put a chart up. I'm just going to speak to it. That way you kind of have an understanding of what's going on. Basically what we're trying to do is understand where we have some wins in the valley, especially if you're buying. And if you're selling too. So the next thing that I want to discuss is what I call a value map. And that comes in the form of a medium home price. In this part of our valley, we can see a lot of different activity happening. And if you look at Kimberly right now, they're at nearly a $500,000 medium home price right now in that area. So what is that? Well, that's a lot of homes that are on large lots that are further outside of Kimberly, most likely. Twin Falls is sitting in the middle at $369,900. But as you look towards Jerome and Buhl, those prices go down. Then you have Filer that moved from a high $369,000 last week. Now it's down to $225,000 medium home price. This is really a zip code decision. If you're choosing Kimberly and over Twin Falls, you're saying, I'll take a $130,000 premium to live there. Now, understandably, there are houses that are far, far below that $500,000 threshold, but there's more of them that are pushing that average up that are in the higher threshold that are selling because we've seen it over the past few weeks. But for others, there's a value gap in Twin Falls and Kimberly. Too big to ignore. You can go across the bridge in Jerome and save yourself an automatic $20,000 discount. You can go to Buhl and Filer, and the bank account gets even easier. So as a buyer, you have to decide what's more important, a zip code or your bank account. Driving 15 minutes to Buhl or driving 15 minutes to Jerome makes your budget go further. You're deciding how much house you can afford for the same monthly payment. If you're a seller, you're competing in that value gap. If you're in Kimberly, you have to prove why you're worth the six-figure premium. In Twin Falls, you're the anchor. If Jerome or Filer offers the same house for way less, that's where the foot traffic will go. So where's the move at? If you're chasing inventory in Filer and Twin Falls, you have to be the first one through the door. And you have to have that pre-approval ready. If you aren't ready to sprint, shift your map. Go across the bridge to Jerome or over to Buhl. Because in those two places, you at least have the chance to stop, breathe, and sign the contract. For the seller side, if you're coming into this market, the ball's in your court. but don't overplay your hand. The 40 price changes that we had in Twin Falls this last week, that's a warning. Buyers are savvy, and they will skip the Twin Falls and Kimberly premiums to find value on the edges. If you want to win this week, you have to be the best looking house at a price that the math actually supports. Most people aren't struggling in this market. They're struggling to find where they fit into the market. The math doesn't lie, but the headlines do. So stay ready. I'm Jeff Abram, your local licensed real estate agent right here in the Magic Valley.